chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You hear some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you. From national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now, here's Sabrina.
Well, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Sabrina Speaks, Voices of the Islands, Conversations for the World, and the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes center stage. I'm going to go straight into it. The 2024 Auditor General Report is out. Yes, and it is damning. In this episode of Sabrina Speaks, I intend to break down procurement violations. What does Section 19 of the Constitution say and mean? Who does the Auditor General report to? The role of the Speaker and Parliament. Audit backlogs, ministerial failures, civil service accountability, and the silence from even our very governor's office. This is not just about governance, it's about trust. The content you're about to hear this evening, and like any other episode of Sabrina Speaks, including any discussions or opinions from myself, guests, and our participants, is intended solely for general informational and entertainment purposes. It's not a substitute for professional legal, medical, or financial advice. And I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for specific concerns. Sabrina Speaks disclaims all liability for any decisions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented. And please don't forget to follow, like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. You can follow me, of course, on Facebook. That's Sabrina Turner, community activist, and on Instagram at Sabrina Speaks. And I'm always here on all the CMRTV.com platforms as well. It is indeed a pleasure to be with you this evening. But you know what? Because this is so important, we'll be right back after this very short message.
Infrastructure is more than roads and buildings. It's our lifeline.
From pioneers who paved the first paths to today's crews and engineers who keep us going.
They power hospitals, connect families, and help us after natural disasters.
Let's honor the people behind Cayman's progress.
Nominate someone who built or maintained our Cayman Islands
At gov.ky/YSCH. Click Nominate today.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. It's a beautiful day to smile, to be happy no matter where you are and what you're doing. I hope that so far this afternoon, you are having an enjoyable Tuesday. And it's so good to be back with you right here on Sabrina Speaks for another informative, definitely thought-provoking and engagement episode that is in store here for you today. Big shout outs and happy birthday to anybody who's celebrating their birthday today. Belated birthday greetings to anyone that I may have missed yesterday. And for those who are upcoming and you want to celebrate early, happy birthday to you when it comes as well. Let's see who's in the house and commenting very early this afternoon. Hi, Connie. Good evening. It is such a pleasure always having you here. And yes, you were the first to comment. Happy Tuesday. Shaka Zulu. Yeah, you early too. How you doing? I hope your day has been going well. Good evening, Marshall. Very early today as well. Hoping that the fall temperatures are definitely getting you all warm and you're keeping warm and cozy. I'm looking forward definitely for a change in the weather here in Cayman. It's a little overcast. Some areas have been getting a lot more rain than others, but hey, it's not going to stop us here. We're going to put positive energy and positive vibes out there. Damian Henry, blessed good evening to you as well. Hi, Darlene. How are you? Good to have you. Yes, it's good to have all of you here. Now, I know you may have seen, and I encourage you to go on and keep it locked to all of the happenings on Cayman Mall Road. You may have been aware that there's an accident in Town on the back road that involved a school bus. This is not one of the videos that is on Sandra's page, but this one was shared with me. And let me see if I can get it here. I just want to show you the image more than anything else, and from another angle of this accident. And apparently, yep, this is another accident. There was a car on the road that was actually caught on fire. Yep, and that's a school bus. So I'm not so sure if this video and what was actually on Mall Road is linked. Yeah, so that is another one, and you will see for yourself. Let's play it back over. You will see for yourself that a school bus was actually involved in a motor vehicle accident. It's alleged that some black vehicle was cutting it off. And we just want to be so careful on the road, but this is what's happening. This could actually delay you getting home. I don't know if it's a good thing, but it is on the back road. It's not on the main thoroughfare, but I know that's a huge residential community there in Town. I'm hoping that everybody was safe. And that, you know, we can just, we constantly advocating to be safe on the road. But yes, reports are coming in earlier. That's about 25 minutes, less than 45 minutes ago, on the traffic accident in Town involving a school bus. And of course, the information that we're sharing is early and suggested another vehicle was allegedly attempting to overtake the school bus when the incident occurred. Now, at this particular time that we're informing you of this, there's no word of any injuries, but motorists are expecting delays. Please use caution while traveling through that area. And by now, emergency personnel are on the scene, and parents and residents are urged to stay alert, drive carefully, especially during school transport hours. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to point fingers, but I swear, not everybody adheres to our traffic laws here, and it'll be interesting. Again, just planting it out there. So I'm really hoping that none of those kids were actually injured, that no one was injured. But if it's for all of those persons who may have witnessed this, we're hoping that you'll speak up and that the person who caused this could have been more serious than what early reports are getting right now. Something like that would be deemed as a mass casualty, and that would put us in a total different position here this evening. And I am hoping right now, by early accounts, everything is going great and that we don't have any serious injuries at this time to report, because it's still early reports in, but we're going to keep it positive, of course. Hey, Chelsea. Relaxing music. You're relaxing? I wish it was me, but I relax with each and every one of you every weekday from 5 until 7, because it's always encouraging, fresh, and waiting to bring you another episode of Sabrina Speaks. Hi, Lisa. Good evening to you. And of course, 936-8255 is the number to participate, to call in, and keeping it to what we're speaking about here today. And I want to break it down as best as I can. Now, when I say as best as I can, it's because it's that felt full of information today. Some of you were have seen yesterday's conversation where Denny actually said Section 19 of the Constitution. I'm going to break that down. And then because of the Auditor General's report, I think it was some concerns and questions came in. Well, who do we hold those that's supposed to be holding people accountable? Who holds them accountable? I got an answer for that as well. And also the role of Parliament, interesting, as it pertains to the Auditor General, and the role of the Speaker. Yes, it's all going to make sense today. And that's why your participation is important. And even if you're weighing in and you want to participate, like I said, 936-8255 for contextual purposes, let's make sure we keep it in the confines of what we're talking about, or you can expound from a different perspective just so we don't lose the information that I am going to share with you this evening. But of course, you are welcome to call in because this space is not the same without your participation. We've been doing well thus far. And again, I want to thank all of my new followers and subscribers. I want to thank all of those persons who may not even comment or who may not actually call in. But I know for sure that you are listening because I'm getting your feedback. You're coming up to me. And I thank you. I thank you for watching. I thank you for subscribing. And I'm hoping one day that we'll all be comfortable in actually coming out front and letting your opinion be heard. So let's get to it. A lot to pack in today. As I said for the beginning, and for those who may just be joining us, the 2024 Auditor General Report is out, and it's just not, to be honest, it's just not disappointing. It's damning. And from what this report is actually putting out in the public's domain, procurement violations were cited, financial mismanagement, audit backlogs, accountability failures, and the Auditor General said it clearly. And I quote, "This raises serious questions about the reliability of financial information used for decision making throughout the year." Let me repeat the quote. The Auditor General said it clearly. This raises serious questions about the reliability of financial information used for decision making throughout the year. Now, that's decision making on, more than likely, in this particular case, on the government, how budgets are actually formed, what things they go, be it capital or operational. That actually is what the Auditor General is actually saying here, but I'll go on. But this is just not a technical issue, you know. This is really, if you look at what is being said, and if we continue to go, despite all of the signals being flagged and raised and recommendations being made, which I haven't seen enough recommendations from this, and I'm hoping that that's to come, that this is a crisis of governance. Yes, that's exactly what this is actually heading down. And it's a violation of our trust and our Constitution. And it goes back to the infamous and the famous Section 19 of the Cayman Islands Constitution. And that demands that public authorities act lawfully, rationally, proportionately, and fairly. Yes, that's what that section is saying. And I think what we need to be asking today then, who is failing us? Hence today's episode of Sabrina Speaks, and why are we letting them? Yeah. So let's just delve into some of the facts and it for the purpose of today's episode. Again, you're free to call in. You're free to weigh in. 936-8255. Put your comments, your questions, your concerns up there. I will read them, and we can definitely air this out as much as possible as we continue to evolve and learn, be informed factually. Now, as I stated, the Auditor General Report basically highlights serious problems, serious issues. Some of the issues that were highlighted in that document really is the procurement violations. Procurement as in contracts awarded without proper tendering, despite there being a tendering process. Now, that means that your money, public money, is spent without true transparency when contracts are given without entering into a proper tendering process. What that also means, and this report also highlights, is that there's also an issue with financial mismanagement. And I'm going to give you some of the case studies that were cited to show all of what was highlighted. Now, Some ministries are using unreliable information to make decisions. Now, if that is indeed the case, because we're not getting correct information as it pertains to how much money is really there, are they giving us far left in forecasting, far right, just to be hoping they'll end up in the middle? We don't know. That then leads to question with financial mismanagement. And ministries are using unreliable data to make decisions, and some ministers as well. And that affects everything. That affects what roads we get. It affects schools. It affects healthcare. It affects what services you're being able to access if you're a retiree or a senior. Even our youth for tertiary education and financing for scholarships and all this. It goes straight across the board, okay? Now, when it comes to audit backlogs, that too was also one of the highlights. And some ministries as well, some entities are years behind on financial statements. Stick a pin. As the former Minister of Health, they're behind by years. They're behind by years. And when I got in the Ministry of Health, just to digress a little bit, they only had the chief financial officer was not permanent. He was trying to be permanent. And there was only, I think, one assistant there assisting the chief financial officer in the Ministry of Health, understanding what that budget is all about. It wasn't until after that I secured the sufficient funding and to make sure that understanding where we were going with the size of the ministry, that even additional ministerial staff for the finance department was able to be hired. Now, when you're going through all of these audits that I inherited, I think I can go back to as far as 2017. I got elected in 2021. Now I stand to be corrected. And I'm no longer in office and they're still outstanding. And what I was told is how the office of the Auditor General works is that they don't work in the current year if they're backlogs. And it is a duty in order to table these within a specific time on the floor of Parliament, but only after all of the questions, anomalies, and stuff has been answered. So to be honest with you, it was the operational arm, despite me kept asking, why am I here from 2021? Why can't they just start looking then in 2022 at the year of 2021 and how portion of 2021 was going under my remit, under my time in office? I was told no, that it was the Auditor General's department that said, no, they have to work on whatever year they were on. They were strapped on staff. It's not that I did not keep asking, but you trust what you're being told from the operational arm. Let's keep going, because I don't want anyone to say, well, if health is cited, for example, because they are, and they're behind by how much years, why she didn't do anything. I just explained it. So let's not put the cart before the horse. Let's get the facts. Another thing that was highlighted in the Auditor General's report was the accountability failures. We've spoken about that so much time here on this podcast. No consequences, no urgency, no leadership. What we as the Caymanian people, and I know you have been asking, I've seen it here. Who's watching the money? Who's enforcing the rules? And why are we tolerating it? Those are some of the questions that should really, really be at the forefront of our minds. Because when you look at everything that's coming out here, when the public funds are misused, it's not just numbers, you know. It's your future. It's your children's future. It's your quality of life. And what happens when no one is held responsible for just underperformance? So let's look at some of the real examples, that was actually pointed out. It was cited in this 2024 Auditor General's report that one ministry alone awarded contracts. Sorry, not alone. I take that back. One ministry awarded contracts without proper bidding. Now that's a red flag. It was also cited in this report that another ministry hasn't submitted audited financial statements in 3 years. I agree. I cited it at the beginning, and I agree with him. It's unacceptable. But it's more than just, in that particular case, the apathy of a minister. It's more than unacceptable when the minister is not, hands are tied for whatever reason, that if they're being told in their ministry, it's not that we're not trying to provide the information. The minister provided the funding to get the amount of temporary staff, full-time staff to assist the chief financial officer, in this case, Ministry of Health. But then they're providing the information, possibly in timing, but then the Auditor General's office, who's responsible for actually signing off on this and unqualified opinions, are saying, look, we're strapped as well. We don't have staff. Now that's outside the Minister of Health's responsibility. So we're having a cascading amount of issues that then still comes back for one particular ministry, now being, and it's rightly so, 3 years behind. Some may be more, we don't know. And I agree with the Auditor General. Be candid, be open, report the truth. And it is unacceptable. Now, meanwhile, a few other ministries are doing very well, but you have to look then at the difference in the variance in responsibilities, the size of the budget, and also providing that excellence is possible. You have to look at the skill sets then within that ministry. You have to look at the size of the budget. You have to look at exactly what they're managing comparison to some of the others that may be outright behind. So you can't just paint them all with the same brush. You can't just paint all of them with the same brush. But that goes to show that excellence and directing proper or allocating proper skill sets and resources where they belong so that all ministries can perform at the same level, that one day excellence is actually possible. So again, it begs the question, what should Caymanians be asking? Why then are some ministries being held to standards and others not? Or even should it be, why aren't they all not performing at the same level? And who benefits when rules are ignored? Another question that should really be on the forefront of our minds is what happened when no one is held accountable? Yeah, you keep asking that. I actually felt like I was out in the wilderness somewhere. It is frustrating because I knew what my responsibility was, but I also knew my limitations when it comes to keeping in my lane. Okay, I knew that. I understood that. And it's in my humble opinion, when one part of government fails, it actually weakens the entire system. And that affects you, whether you see it or not. And what we're seeing here now, for the sake of education, for the sake of information, and this real report, is why you do not shoot the messenger. You do not shoot the messenger when they're reporting the facts. Okay? So let's look into possibly who may be failing us. We're not saying that that is the case. Let's just cite some of the players that are here. You got some ministries, you got the ministries, and you got the ministers. You got some are performing while others are floundering. And why? Is it competence? Is it integrity? Or is it something worse? Then you have the deputy governor. His responsibility is overseeing the civil service. Is he hiring the right people? Are the department heads, the chief officers, hiring the right people? Because he has to do the final stages of it. He has to sign off on every one of those hires. Is he enforcing standards? Or is he asleep at the wheel? These are all of some questions, sound questions to ask. Because when you don't get answers and when you're seeing reports like this, it leaves room for speculation. And it also leaves rooms for questions like these. And then you say, well, oh my God, what's the role of the governor? Well, constitutionally, the governor is supposed to uphold good governance. And then you say, well, where is she? We're not encouraging that because that's taking us down a road that it shows we're not capable of governance, that it shows that we're not capable. It shows the failings of our elected arm, but it also shows the failings of our operational arm as well. Okay? So in my humble opinion, as Caymanians, we should be thinking, are procurement rules being ignored to benefit friends and family? I'm just asking the questions. Or should we be thinking the civil service, is the civil service a place of excellence or a place of entitlement? And is silence then from leadership a form of complicity because they're not being held accountable? When you go into section 19 of the Constitution, again, and you will hear me repeating this a number of times today, our Constitution says the public authorities must act lawfully, fashionably, proportionately, and fairly. If they're not, they're violating the Constitution. And that, my dear friends, should matter to every single Caymanian. Hi, Sherry-Ann. Welcome to the show. Chelsea, what is going to happen to Caymanians? Well, I hope after today's episode, and I'm breaking it down here for you so that you will know, that we will be able to honestly answer that question. Because if you look at the percentage of Caymanians that are holding high positions within the operational arm of the civil service, they are Caymanians. Good evening, Deborah. It is a pleasure to have you here. Hi, Jasara. Hope you're having a good evening. So one may ask the question, who does the Cayman Islands Auditor General reports to? Despite the role being an independent watchdog. So if that question has ever questioned, because now you're hearing about this real report, you're hearing that I'm saying, yay, he did his job. That's a Caymanian doing their job. The Cayman Islands Auditor General, listen carefully, while operating as an independent watchdog, formally reports to the Legislative Assembly, now known as the Parliament of the Cayman Islands. Did you hear what I said? The Auditor General formally reports to the Parliament of the Cayman Islands. So in short, the Auditor General reports to you, the people of the Cayman Islands through your elected representatives of the Parliament. So if your representatives fail to act, you have the right to demand better. Yeah, that's who the Auditor General reports to. He reports to you, every single citizen of the Cayman Islands. And that conduit, that vehicle, is through your elected representatives in Parliament. So here's how it works. Inspiring. Hi, I'm here enjoying the show as usual. Thank you so much. Here's how it really works. The Auditor General is appointed under the Public Management and Finance Law and also the Constitution. Although it's independent from the executive branch, and what that is, ministers, civil service, and the governor. That's the executive branch of government. The Auditor General reports directly to Parliament. Hold on. Now that means audit reports are tabled in Parliament, just like this one. And you may ask, why? For the same reason. For elected members of Parliament, then, to review, debate, and acting on the findings. Audit reports are tabled in Parliament. Your elected members of Parliament, your MPs, are then responsible for reviewing these reports, debating them, and acting on the findings. And the Public Accounts Committee that half of you don't even sometimes listen to, that is a subset of Parliament. And that Public Accounts Committee plays a key role in scrutinizing these reports. And sometimes they have the right to call witnesses for accountability. Remember yesterday, I said sometimes senior civil servants cringe because they have to go down and they have to ask questions, remember? And some of them are nervous and they don't want to go there because they feel that the ministers are coming after them too hard. Why are the elected members of Parliament coming after them hard? You know why? Let's go back to the top. Because the Auditor General reports to you. That's why. You, the voting public, every citizen of the Cayman Islands, the Auditor General reports to you through the MPs. Yes. So when they are actually called or summoned down to Public Accounts Committee, that's what they're there for, to be questioned. To be questioned. So you say, well, why independence matter? This is why. And it's going to make some sense. Again, he's an independent, or that position is an independent watchdog. The Auditor General is not beholden to the governor. The Auditor General is not beholden to the deputy governor. The Auditor General is not beholden to cabinet ministers. And you know why? Because this independence ensures that audits can be exposed. Failures without political interference. You understand why you need somebody in that position that ain't no friend or foe, just somebody to do their job without political interference. The independence ensures that audits can be exposed without political interference. However, if the Parliament fails to act on the findings of these reports, the system breaks down and public trust erodes. What I'm sensing is that you're hearing all of these things and people are just going like in a vortex. So who's holding who accountable? Hold on. I want you to slow down, which is why it was important for me to have this show today, to bring up this topic. Because I see Danny talking about the Constitution and a lot of people not realizing what Mr. Danny is doing. He keeps citing this section of the Constitution. And I'm hoping today I will break it down as to why it's important and attach it to this report. This is what we should all be looking out for. If the Auditor General is even pressured, ignored, or sidelined, red flag. I think Sandra has a red flag. I need to ask Eric to give me a red flag because I can eat it. If Parliament fails to debate or act on reports, it signals a failure of your democratic oversight. How much of those elected MPs will read this, digest it, tear it apart? Because they are there as your eyes, your ears. If the Public Accounts Committee becomes politicized or even inactive, that in its very own self undermines the entire accountability framework. Remember what I said earlier. Please remember, but I'll repeat it for those just joining us. The Auditor General reports to you, the people, through your elected representatives in the Parliament. And if your representatives fail to act, and I'm hearing someone who can't even find their office, someone who don't know where they are, someone who don't know how to get through their layers and layers and layers and layers to try and get to them. If your representatives fail to act, you have the right to demand better. There's a reason why I'm educating you, Cayman. There's a reason. In elected office, not that I didn't have the time. Again, you respect those around the table with you. But now I got a time. I could use my time to educate you. Because one of these days, you will remember every word and every episode that I've shared here. You may then ask, after hearing all of this, good evening, Ms. Rose. It's a pleasure to have you in the house with us. What happens then if this current Caymanian, let me just stress, it's a Caymanian, Auditor General then is subdued, muzzled, drawn up for reporting factually, for being open in the expectations or in the executions of their duty. And then you may say, what would that represent? And why should we, the people, be concerned if future reports appear to be watered down in its material? You will understand yesterday when Siobhan called that we read the article, and both of us broke out in a laughter because we were like, oh boy, they're gone. But oh no, we're going to tell you exactly what his role is. Because if the current Caymanian Auditor General were ever subdued, silenced, or even pressured into watering down these reports, it would represent a direct threat to democratic accountability. It would represent a direct threat to transparency, and would also represent a direct threat to constitutional integrity here in the Cayman Islands. And you may say, why? Let me answer that for you. Here is why that matters, and why every Caymanian should be deeply concerned if we see it going down that road. What it would represent is, one, a breakdown in oversight. Because then the Auditor General is one of the few independent roles, we could call them watchdogs, that is tasked with holding government accountable. And if that position, for whatever reason, because they are putting in reports the truth, is muzzled, it signals that those in power fear scrutiny. It even undermines the checks and balances that protect public funds. And just let me put that into layman's terms. It undermines the checks and balance of your money. So when you hear me use public funds, that's your money. And it also suggests that the truth is being suppressed to protect reputations or public interests. Yeah. Darlene, exposure is a hell of a thing, and a lot of our people couldn't handle it. They get vexed and vindictive. I will not answer that. But you are right, Darlene. Number 2, a violation of Section 19 of the Constitution means, and what it signifies, is that the same Section 19 guarantees that the public authorities must act lawfully, you hear it again, rationally, proportionately, and fairly. And silencing the Auditor General in whatever way, directly or indirectly. Thank God this one is not on a contract. That's a Cayman. Silencing the Auditor General violates the principle of lawful administrative action. Silencing the Auditor General also undermines the fairness of rationality of government operations. Silencing the Auditor General also breaches the public's right to transparent and accountable governance. Yeah, I could go on to 3 because that one could be interesting. Inspiring. Who's failing Cayman is not easily answered with a single name. The failure is institutional and multi-layered. You're on the right track. Inspiring also says, weak internal controls, financial management deficiencies at the ministry and agency levels is 1. Inspiring further says, insufficient oversight and enforcement from central procurement / oversight offices. Let me go on to number 3. A warning sign of corruption or authoritarian draft. That is when independent voices are silenced. When independent voices are actually silenced, guys, it often precedes misuse of public funds. It often precedes misuse of your money. It often precedes cronyism and nepotism, where it's around a certain big boys club. All depends on what party you're with. It all depends on who you speak up to. I'm not going to go there because I'm keeping it real. This is too important to be fooling around. It often precedes erosion of civil liberties. But most importantly, collapse of public trust. And from what I've been seeing here, and from what I've been hearing on other shows and other discussions, we're at the door of public trust. But knowledge, my friends, is power. And this is why it's so important for me to keep you in the know. And at various stages of today's discussion, I will keep asking the question, why Caymanians should be concerned about watered down reports in this context? I can give you a number of reasons why. 1, loss of truth. Future reports that omit key findings in what you don't know don't hurt you, but eventually it'll want to come out in the wash, will come out in the rinse. Future reports that omits key findings or soften language. 1, prevent the public from knowing how their money is spent. And also loss of truth. It shields underperforming ministries and officials from consequences. So who covering up for who? It also creates a false sense of competence in government. This is why it's important that you don't fall for the $1,000. This is why it's important you don't fall for the how much loads a mile. This is why it's important you don't sell your vote. Number 2, manipulated public perception. Watered down reports are a form of information controlled. And what they do? They mislead you. They mislead the public into thinking things are better than they are. And if you have a minister that's not switched on, if you have a minister that's fair to ask the questions for whatever reasons, or just swallow whatever they give you without asking questions, then you're accused of political interference. Houston, you got a problem. Something wrong with your minister, with your MP. Watered down reports, again, are a form of information control. And they undermine the role of the media and civil society. They make it harder for voters also to make informed decisions. But I gotta tell you why. It is imperative that you, the voter, keep switched on. Keep holding your MPs accountable. And if they're stumbling and fumbling over their words, it means they're not doing their work. It means they're not reading. Because if you can ask a more informed question than your MP who sits around, and worse if they're a minister, Houston, you got a problem. If they go MIA, Houston, you got a problem. Inspiring. Gaps in the civil service leadership and accountability. Damian Henry. Erosion of public trust. Damian also says, damage to international reputation. Lisa Prendergast. Correct. Vote buying, Marl, 1,000, like you said. Panama trips. I don't know. I wouldn't know why it is because I didn't buy one. Yeah. Now, number 3 is the collapse of the democratic accountability. Because without honest reporting, there is absolutely no pressure to improve. Without honest reporting, poor performance becomes normalized. Hey, aren't we seeing some of these things? Aren't you guys seeing some of these things? Without honest reporting, the Constitution becomes a symbol and not a safeguard, for God's sakes. Yeah. We have said it here. What's the sense of having the Constitution if we're not even following it? We've said it here all the time. So what this means for the future of Cayman, you may ask. Hi, Andrea. Good to have you. So good to have you here. If the Auditor General is actually silenced, it's not just his voice or the position's voice that's lost. It's yours. It's yours. Any threats, anything for doing their job through the Auditor General, your voice is being silenced. And you know what that means? It means that the very same system that should be working for you is protecting itself and not you, the people. You know what else that means? It means that the Constitution is being ignored and not upheld. It also means that the future is being shaped by secrecy and not transparency. They use that word and they do not know the meaning. And if you ever dare ask them, you're the worst person on the planet. So you say, well, Miss Sabrina, what do we do? You have the right to defend the independence of the Auditor General's office. Stop saying the paper Caymanian in a generational, the man Caymanian. Stop it. They are a Caymanian. And that was echoed by the deputy governor. Stop it. Look at the role. Don't miss the forest for the trees. In this particular role, all we need is someone to do the job that is not for sale, that has a moral compass. Defend the independence of the Auditor General's office. And for full disclaimer, I don't know who this individual is from the man in the moon. Just let me make it clear. The topic today is about the report. And I applauded the report. And whoever's behind the report is doing their job. I don't care if it is a 11 Siobhan 9, something from Methuselah. I don't care where they're from. They're Caymanian. They're Caymanian, okay? And they're doing their job. So what us Caymanians must do is continue to defend that independence. Because let me tell you, the 2024 report, if that is setting the bar for what they're capable of doing, better things and greater things are to come, but we have to defend that position's independence. What else can Caymanians do or must do? Demand full, unedited reports with clear findings and recommendations. Demand your MPs to read them and to come back to you and report and break it down in simple terms, because I ain't gonna be doing their job for them. If I can do this, they're getting paid to do it too. I am giving you the high level of responsibility. So when you go to them, you can go to them bold, firm, and knowing you're speaking the truth. They ain't doing you no favors when they're answering questions surrounding this topic. That's their job. And if they send a surrogate or if they send a messenger, you've been shortchanged. What Caymanians must do? Speak out. If future reports appear diluted or even vague, or something doesn't sit right, speak out. Your silence means consent, means it's okay. Your silence does not give you protection. The silent majority can no longer remain silent. What else Caymanians must do? Hold leaders accountable for any attempt to suppress oversight. Because let me tell you something. The truth, once the truth is compromised, everything else follows. Trust will be compromised, justice will be compromised, and the very word democracy should never cross your lips again, because that is also compromised. Darlene, maybe they took off with our money again. Lisa. But we have an Auditor General's bullied and pushed out years ago. We had the truth told, but our people are too busy trying to put food on our table and fearful, so they will not act. Well, I tell you what. Lisa, the only thing I can say to that, based on what you have said, that's past. The fact that I'm spending so much time here doing this, then we take what we get. We take what we get. But I don't think all hope is lost. All hope is not lost. Again, once the truth is compromised, everything else follows. From trust, justice, and even democracy. So don't make them use that word to you about democratic right. Because when you start suppressing the truth, and especially in that position, democracy has just been devalued. Inspiring. If the system is broken, what is the first fix Cayman needs to restore trust and accountability? Oh, hold on, I can tell you how to do it. Hold on. First of all, it starts at the polls. I digressed. A question may come. The Cayman Islands, about the Parliament then, when you understand who and where the Auditor General reports to, right? The question could be, the Cayman Islands Parliament, is it independent or is it core government? Is it a part of core government? Okay. And for the sake of this, you may say, but she's talking about the Auditor General's report. It all has to make sense. As Caymanians, we need to understand that this distinction, especially when discussing accountability and constitutional governance, we must understand the two, core government and Parliament being independent, okay? Remember when they changed from Legislative Assembly? That was when the Parliament was under core government. But now it's separated. Why? It's an independent body, like a statutory authority, like an independent body, but I'll get down into it. Just let me be as clear as I can. Parliament is not part of core government. I kind of went into that, okay? It's supposed to be its watchdog. But if you look at the intricacies, and that kind of answers the question that I think Lisa had about who holds who accountable, whatever. One of the trips there, and I come into it. Parliament is not a part of core government, number one. It is supposed to be its watchdog. But when members, ministers, your MPs sit in Parliament and oversee their own ministries at the same time, who's really watching whom should be the question. So Caymanians must understand this separation, because it's literally, once they step into the floor of Parliament, it's a different world. They need to take off that hat. And then there, and only there in Parliament, you are representing the people. Because what happens then if Parliament becomes a rubber stamp? The Constitution primarily is diluted as suggestion and not really what's intended purpose is for. And that is a safeguard. So understanding the role of your MP, when they step in Parliament and they're a part of that Parliamentary Managerial Council, they have taken off that hat and they are there solely for you. And that's why they've separated. So yes, the Parliament is constitutionally separate from core government. But in practice, the lines can be blurred. You can say, oh God, we should go in with this again. Let me try my best to break it down. Parliament, as we now know it, was formerly called, as you know, the Legislative Assembly. It is the legislative branch that is responsible for making laws, approving budgets, and holding the executive accountable. But you say, well, who's the executive? That in the cabinet? Remember, it's two separate entities. Now, the executive is composed of elected members of Parliament, your MPs, including ministers and backbenchers. And this whole Parliament is presided over by the Speaker of the House. I could get to that position too. That is your Parliament. That's what it is, okay? Core government, on the other hand, refers to the executive branch. You understand why I say now when the MPs go down to Parliament, they're taking off the one hat and putting on an independent hat? Core government, referred to as the executive branch, as I alluded to earlier on, is the Premier, the cabinet that consists of 8 ministers, chief officers, and the civil service, the operational arm. And core government is responsible for implementing laws, managing ministries, and delivering public services. We still on core government. Core government also includes the deputy governor and governor in their administrative roles. So you understand where your elected MPs, and worse if you're a cabinet minister, is wearing 3 hats: executive branch, parliamentary branch, and when they use the term politics as local, they're responsible for you on the ground as well. I'm not telling you this to feel sorry for any of them, I'm just letting you know their roles. You campaigned like you didn't know what, you bought what you had to buy, now give your people value for money. Okay? Let's go back. The constitutional separation, under the Cayman Islands Constitution, Parliament makes laws. Government, the executive arm, government, including the civil service, executes them. Parliament makes the laws. Government executes them. And Parliament is meant to scrutinize and challenge the government, not be part of it. So you say, well, how'd that work? Sabrina, this sounds like a maze. I didn't tell you it was easy. That is why you will hear that there's no steeple on that Parliament. Now you understand why? It's hard for some of them to juggle to serve you and be a part of the executive. Now, this separation is essential for checks and balances. But what happens when you have that hybrid that's just lurking all over the place? And I know some of you may be a little confused. It is a bit confusing because many ministers are MPs and they sit in Parliament while running their ministries. So you say, oh my God, that's a conflict of interest. That's what happened when we separated, which is a good thing. This dual role can blur the line between oversight and execution. This dual role can create conflicts of interest. Oof. It not me. I'm telling you the facts. This dual role also can reduce effectiveness of scrutiny. And worse if they don't show up to work. Worse if they don't read. Especially if backbench MPs are silent or partisan. And I'll tell you what that is too. Here's another question. Why should Caymanians understand this? Because Parliament, my friends, is your voice. It should challenge the government, but they're challenging themselves, not protecting the government. And if Parliament fails to hold ministers themselves accountable, chief officers, or even the governor accountable, it's not doing its job. Now, understanding the separations will help us as citizens demand better governance and use the Constitution to enforce accountability. So even everything that I'm telling you is factual. In the real world, that is a huge responsibility and trust and integrity and some kind of moral compass when you're casting your vote. Now that I am sharing with you that role that you need. So if you can be bought, you can be sold. Is it making sense now? We were talking about Parliament. The question is, then why is it so important to have a Speaker of Parliament? We understood that they preside over the Parliament. But why is it so important then that a Speaker is fair, balanced, nonpartisan, and not at risk of being bought or taking sides in Parliament? And for the sake of this, I will also break down as best as I can the meaning of nonpartisan for education purposes. It is vital for the health of Cayman's democracy. And that word is going to come up a lot here this evening because there is strength in our numbers and there's power in your vote. It is absolutely vital for the health of our own democracy that the Speaker of Parliament is fair, balanced, nonpartisan, and beyond reproach, especially for us being a small jurisdiction where, every politician's and political influence can easily become personal, in many cases, family. Who not cousin, who not married to this one, who not, well, we're not going any further than that. But what I'm saying, you get the point, okay? But the Speaker of Parliament is not just a moderator, as some of you may see in the whole wig and gowns and having a driver and prestigious thing and preside over them and knock down their gavel. No, it's not just a moderator. The Speaker of Parliament, they are the guardian, that role, of fairness. If they take sides, the system then tilts. God forbid if they're bought, the people are sold out. And that is why my Caymanians must demand a speaker who is not a participant in political games. That is why my Caymanians, you must demand that they are the protector of democratic rules. Because if that person in that role fails, Parliament also fails. And when Parliament fails, the Constitution is just paper. Where's Sabrina going with that? George, I soon get to you. The Speaker of Parliament role is the presiding officer for the House. It is the person who then is responsible for maintaining order during debates. That person is enforcing the rules of procedure. That individual is deciding who may speak and when. That individual is ensuring that all members of Parliament, that includes your MPs, are treated fairly. That person is also representing the dignity and independence of Parliament itself. You heard the word dignity. The Speaker is not supposed to take sides, and I shouldn't even use the word suppose. The Speaker do not take sides. Their job is to protect the integrity of the legislative process and not to advance any political agenda. You realize the job description of the Speaker? That's just scratching the surface. So why must the Speaker be fair, balanced, and nonpartisan? Because the Speaker is the referee of democracy. The referee is biased. Because if the referee is biased, and we hope to Christ they're not, the game is rigid, it's rigged. It's not true. If the Speaker is the referee of democracy, which they are, and at the end of the day, why should it matter, you may ask? It's more than just sitting up there through long meetings. I can name about 4. It matters because it protects minority voices. It matters because it prevents abuse of power. It matters because it upholds the Constitution. And it matters because it preserves public trust. And minority voices, a fair speaker ensures that opposition MPs and independent voices are heard. So even if you are in is it Northeast or Southeast corner, that you're not politically aligned with any one of the parties or even a part of the opposition, even them is protected. And when it talks about prevents abuse of power, a nonpartisan speaker blocks attempts to silence dissent and manipulate debate. So they can't be hinting little things, whether or not their mic is on or off, or winking, or doing funny little gestures. No, because that can manipulate a debate. So it may be a little chuckle sometimes when you look at the debate, but I cry, I cringe. And for those small-minded people who may be thinking, well, who gives her so much right? How she know all of this now? Again, no one really knew my worth. But I got time. I got time on my hands now. And I got to educate my people. So again, as I continue with why the speaker must be fair, balanced, and nonpartisan, number 3, because it upholds the Constitution. And what I mean by that, the speaker must enforce the rules to protect lawful, rational, and fair governance. You see, I'm coming back to section 19 of the Constitution again. In number 4, it preserves public trust. Caymanians must believe that Parliament is a place of truth, not a blessed theater. And oh my God, some of them need a grammar for acting. Caymanians must believe that Parliament is a place of truth, even though it's adversarial. Don't take away from the fact and not turn it into a theater. Because when it becomes acting, that's a reflection of you. Because remember, those MPs represent you. In the context of the Speaker of Parliament in the Cayman Islands, for the purpose of nonpartisan, the term nonpartisan means that the Speaker must remain neutral, unbiased, and independent of political party interest or loyalists while carrying out their duties. You hear what I mean? That what nonpartisan mean? A speaker who's nonpartisan. They have to remain neutral. They have to remain unbiased and independent of political party interests or loyalties while carrying out their duties. No political favoritism means the speaker must not favor one party. They must not favor one MP. They must not favor even one minister over another. A nonpartisan speaker also means no involvement in party strategy. They must not use or even participate in any political maneuvering or policy debates. Your speaker should have no public alignment whatsoever. I bet you that I'm diluting it now. Your speaker should not publicly express support for any political party or even candidate. Your nonpartisan speaker is responsible for fair treatment of all MPs, whether government or opposition. All members of parliament must be given equal opportunity to speak and also to be heard. And I'm quite sure if you review some of those proceedings, you go wonder and think back of all of those that were speakers. Can you label them as nonpartisan? Now that I've given you the definition of nonpartisan as it pertains to the holder of that seat? Lisa, you agree. George. So who enforces the law? Paying for your own work permit is illegal. Why is it allowed to happen and the employer is not prosecuted for collecting the fee from the employee? First, they got to be investigated, George. And if they're not investigated, which that is the enforcement arm of WORC or CBC, whichever one now, you got to catch them first. Are they willing to put in the time to properly investigate? Is the person who is aware that they're paying for their own work permit willing to go and make the report and not be scared of retribution or nepotism, or that friends in there will protect the employer? These are all the questions you have to ask. Lisa, we are broken, but our people are not paying attention, but they better wake up today. Darlene, can't speak too hard now, though, I'm getting my paycheck. Mark, hi, everyone. How are you doing? Sabrina, good to see you. It's a pleasure to see you, too. Neutral all the way. Mark? No, it's because you know what you're saying. Okay. I know I'm a little late on some of the comments, but I want to make sure that I don't have, in case there are any questions. More actors in Hollywood. Darlene, you something else. Lisa, 4 years, had privilege to have a conversation of senior attorney general who worked in the BVI, stated BVI was so corrupt and Cayman Island was right behind. And Cayman Islands was right behind. Cayman is on fire. Okay. Darlene, had to keep neutral. We have give you the job. Hard to keep neutral. They gave you the job. Oh, well, that wasn't even offered, Darlene, to be honest. I kind of see, when they gave you the job, it wasn't offered, but that's okay. In hindsight, you wouldn't be educated if I was there, but I would educate you. I'll tell you that much. Investigated by who? George, the enforcement officers. Enforcement. If the person who is the victim, they need to go to enforcement and make the report, but that's the problem. Enforcement officers do the investigation. Darlene, it's so funny how certain people was so loud and all of a sudden gone mute. Darlene, you is like a austerizer blender. I'm not taking you on. Done. Yeah, they have been happening for a time. Darlene, you are trouble. You are like a blender. Yeah. So let me continue. George, you a blender too. So one may say, why this matters in the Cayman Islands? Yeah, it matters. It matters that you have the right speaker for all of those things, nonpartisan. Because in a small jurisdiction like ours, political relations are often too blooming personal. And the speaker may have previously been elected as a party member or hand-selected for other reasons. And the risk of bias or influence is that much higher. Yeah, Connor, you got it. You got it right. That's why a non-partisanship is essential. And the speaker must rise above politics and protect the integrity of Parliament, or protect the salary, or who put them there. Yeah. Now let's delve a little bit into the constitutional responsibility where the speaker is concerned. As I stated earlier, the speaker is the guardian of parliamentary fairness. And if they act in a partisan way, The whole debates can be manipulated. The opposition voice can be silenced, and laws can be passed without proper scrutiny. And that, my friends, undermines Section 19 of the Constitution, which demands, I'll repeat it again, lawful, rational, proportionate, and fair action from public authorities, including Parliament itself. So let me put this Section 19 in plain English. Because when you pick up the Constitution, and now with the power of Google, you can find it yourself if you doubt me. Section 19 of the Constitution is titled Lawful Administrative Action. Now, Cayman, it requires that all public authorities, including government departments, civil servants, and statutory bodies, must act lawfully. What does that mean? They must follow the law rationally. Their decision must make sense and be based on reason. Proportionately, their actions must be appropriate to the situation and not excessive or abusive. Okay? They must act fairly, and meaning they must treat people justly and without bias. It also gives every person the right to lawful administrative action. And it also gives every person the ability to challenge decisions that are made that violates these principles. And you will say, well, what are those principles? For those of you who may have just trying to process everything that I'm saying, or may have stepped away for a beverage, those principles are lawfully, rationally, proportionately, and fairly. Again, it comes down why it matters. Let me tell you why it matters. Why does Section 19 of the Constitution matters? It's because this specific section of the Constitution is the backbone of accountability. It's the spine of accountability. We've been using that word. There's no accountability in government. Hey, it's your Constitution. It's what protects you, the citizen, from abuse of power. It's what protects you, the citizen, from corruption. It's what protects you, the citizen, from incompetence. And if a government ministry awards contracts without proper bidding, if a ministry ignores procurement rules or fails to submit financial statements, that's not just bad management, Cayman. It's a violation of Section 19 of the Constitution. Or do you want to ease it up a little bit? Let's rephrase that then. So we're used to that. It could be a violation of Section 19. Or are you going to be hard and fast and say remove the could be and just say it's a violation of Section 19? Because right about now, I know y'all out there are fed up. And if a civil servant makes a decision that's biased, irrational, or unfair, you have every right to challenge it in accordance to Section 19 of the Constitution. Someone mentioned about international reputational damage and risk. It could have a world impact. Because when the Auditor General reports procurement violations or unreliable financial data, it raises serious questions about whether ministries are acting lawfully and rationally. The world impact is that if the deputy governor fails to enforce standards in the civil service, it itself may be in breach. They may be breaching the fairness and proportionality expected in accordance with Section 19 of the Constitution. And also, if the governor remains silent in the face of systematic failures, that in itself undermines the constitutional duty to uphold lawful governance. That's real world impact on this jurisdiction. So it boils down again. What should be on every Caymanian's mind? Are public authorities following Section 19 or ignoring it? Do we have a system in place to enforce it? Are we, the people, using our constitutional rights to demand better? Or are we expecting persons like myself, Siobhan, Denny, Sandra, Lisa, to do it? Because Section 19 isn't just legal language, you know. It's just not there on paper. It's a promise that government will serve the people, not itself. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind? Howdy do.
Well, since you're raising holy hell, I thought I'd say amen.
I actually get a kaboom from you. How are you?
Not bad. I didn't hear the entire show, but there's one part back when you were talking about the parliament,
Mm-hmm.
which, by the way, it's not a parliament in name. But you said that it makes laws. Technically, the parliament doesn't make laws. The legislature
Mm-hmm.
laws. Because the parliament is the elected member,
Members, which is why I said they had dual hats.
but legislation
Mm-hmm.
is made into law
Mm-hmm.
by the legislature,
In Parliament.
which is Parliament and the governor.
Mm-hmm.
So when the governor assents to the law, that is an act of the legislature.
Mm-hmm.
The group known as the Parliament plus the governor.
Mm-hmm.
It's the elected members that debate
Mm-hmm.
and quote pass
Mm-hmm.
laws.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just a fancy way of
saying
recommend to the governor
right.
what should be made into law by the governor's signature.
Okay.
Now, I don't like that.
Are you on speaker?
Yes.
Come off because you're coming in and out.
All right.
Much better.
All right. I don't like the term, the name, parliament.
Mm-hmm. Why?
It's an inaccurate description of the entity.
Mm-hmm.
It was called the Legislative Assembly for a reason. But as I heard it explained to me, is that they wanted to change the name so that when they travel,
Mm-hmm.
people would be more familiar with what. And I don't
For
buy
terms, yeah. Mm-hmm.
that. I don't buy that argument because places in Canada and Australia still use the term Legislative Assembly,
Mm-hmm.
and they're much bigger than we are.
Mm-hmm.
But the specific reason why it's absolutely wrong
Mm-hmm.
to call it a parliament is that a parliament is a sovereign legislative body, and the Legislative Assembly is a subordinate legislative body.
Mm.
And that should make it clear why it's wrong.
Okay.
right?
Now that you put it
So,
that way, yeah.
and so if you think about Erskine Mays and what the
Uh-huh.
privileges
And they use
of
that a
that,
lot. Yeah.
what the privileges of Cayman's house are,
Mm-hmm.
then you realize that we can't have privileges that exceed the House of Commons,
Mm-hmm.
because the House of Commons is the sovereign legislative body,
Mm-hmm.
and the House here is a subordinate one to the House of Commons.
Okay.
So the proper description of what we have in Cayman is a legislative assembly.
Still, despite it having
Yeah,
a label of parliament.
despite that's right, because we're not sovereign.
Mhm.
We don't get to do whatever we want to do, regardless of what the UK thinks,
Mm-hmm.
which is what
It's true. That came up
right,
here on a couple podcasts, on a couple episodes. People were saying,
right.
so what do we do? And I'm saying, we can't do anything. We're not independent.
Now, I begged desperately when they were doing that for them not to do it, because I said it was going to make conversation more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you say that you have a parliament, and you think about a parliament in countries doing, what they feel like for their country,
Mm-hmm.
then you start asking yourself, well, how come our parliament can't do it?
Mm.
And it's not until you realize that we don't actually have a parliament, which is why we can't
Can't
do it.
do it.
So, but I kick and scream sometimes, and people just simply just ignore it.
I'm calling your name, caller, only because I have heard you on a number of episodes here and you've posted a number of things here. And because it's not hitting, it's not sticking, I'm hoping that people will appreciate what you were saying all along. Because I gave the example the other day, it was a comment that you made. I said, we didn't appreciate Bojangles either. We didn't appreciate Taco Bell. I only used it in the form of restaurants so that it could stick home. But I bet you if any one of those franchises, we saw how excited people were of Olive Garden. We had an Olive Garden here once. It didn't last for whatever reason. I'm not going there. But what I'm saying, we also had a Tony Roma's. You were probably in many times in your discussion ahead of your time. As we continue to erode, I am here. I am strategic in how I choose my topics because our people need to be informed and they need to be educated. So when I call your name, it's a matter of drawing reference because you have been saying a lot of what I have said here today. But it didn't stick for whatever reason.
Well, there's two things, right? One is knowing what to do, but the more important part that Caymanians need to work on is having the courage to do what we know we're supposed to do. That's the really hard part.
And is that from all angles? Civil society, civil service, leaders, that sort of stuff?
Just including the general
Public.
Yeah, I mean, just all around, because you see, what has happened to us, believe it or not, we live as bad as we might think it is. The fact that we have just an indoor bathroom means that we have amenities that even kings of the past didn't have. So relatively speaking, we have a very comfortable life. And people don't want to interfere with that because they got children in school, or they got a mortgage, or they got something. But the truth of the matter is that if we allow those things to make us be fearful, we're going to risk all of it. Because the word you didn't use today, I think you hinted at it, but the word you didn't use will rip us apart. and that is corruption.
I used it.
Oh, well, I didn't hear all the show, so
Yeah. I used it. I
the
broke it
phrase that I
down.
heard,
Yeah,
the phrase I heard you use, you didn't actually say it.
but it was there. But I used it in a different context to say where it could lead for perception. Yeah.
Okay. And so what politicians do in many instances is they use their authority and their resources and they divide the public. And by dividing the public, it makes us weak. And we lose. Now, it's not appropriate.
When
for
you divide the
politicians-
public, it makes us weak. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, weak.
It's
The word weak
weak.
did not come across.
Okay. It makes us weak in that we lose out on the ability to hold our employees accountable. Now, when you use the language that they like to use, you don't think of them as employees, you think of them as our leaders and we're their followers, if you use their terminology.
Mm-hmm.
But in essence, we are shareholders in this company called the Cayman Islands,
Mm-hmm.
and they are our employees.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the responsibility of the shareholders in a company is to ensure that the management of the company is running the company properly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's us, the general public. We need to make sure that the civil servants and that the MPs are actually doing things properly. But that requires courage because sometimes you have to say things that some people don't want said.
Somebody's asking
And-
me to give you a kaboom.
Thank you. And there are instances in which when you stand up to politicians, they will be spiteful.
Mm-hmm. Huh,
And
tell me about it. I wrote that chapter, Danny.
and so yes, it might be uncomfortable for us in some moments.
Yeah.
But what you have to keep in mind is the bigger picture,
Mm-hmm.
which is that if you don't do what is necessary, it will get even worse.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to raise an issue right now that some people might not understand why I'm all frustrated about it. And this is digital ID.
I got
Because the way-
a show coming on that, and I will invite you because I need to hear your side, not to cut you. I
Yeah.
have a show coming on that. But you see, with that, nonpartisan as a host. But I have to see it full circle, if you understand where I'm coming from, to be a proper moderator.
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. I'll hold off on that for right now until we get into that show. But the point that I'm making is that there are tools. If you think of a hammer,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can go to a construction site and you can make a living with a hammer.
Mm-hmm.
But a hammer is actually a deadly weapon.
Mm.
And you can kill someone with a hammer.
Mm-hmm.
And so the problem that the general public has when it's looking at what it's giving politicians to use, they think of it for the good reasons. That is to go out on the job and on a construction site and to make money and pay bills.
Mm-hmm.
They're not thinking that the politician is going to use that hammer as a weapon against them.
Mm-hmm.
And as a shareholder in a company,
Mm-hmm.
your obligation is not to just think about how much money you can make or what problems you can solve for people in society to
Mm-hmm.
grow your business, but you also have to think about the risk associated
Right.
with running the business.
Right.
And so we have to be mindful of what we hand politicians. And some of the things that the general public are willing to hand politicians
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I sometimes I just shake my head in disbelief
Give us an example
because
for the
if
sake
you
of this
well,
forum.
well, digital ID, but we'll talk about that
Okay, that's where
in
you're
the
okay.
future. Yeah, and so, but what I'm trying to get across is that being afraid is not a good thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're afraid, we still need to do the right thing
Mm-hmm.
and hold politicians accountable. They are our employees. We are not their possession.
But they can be changed every 4 years at the poll. We have a bigger picture here, which was the purpose of highlighting
Right.
the
And
watchdogs, the independent watchdog position of the Auditor General and the Office
right.
of the Ombudsman. And that understanding what those positions mean for the voice, for the representation of the citizens of the Cayman Islands.
Right.
And when I
But
say citizens, it doesn't matter what political colors you wear or how much money you have in your bank account. Those positions represent everyone.
okay, that's fine. However, what I'm talking about here is there is it's not when we look at politicians and what's happening in the country,
Mm-hmm.
it's not just the people that we're looking at
Yeah.
that's driving the policy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the power behind the
Behind.
throne
Okay.
driving the policy. So those people can be from just about anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the integrity of MPs.
Mm-hmm.
So the forces that we're fighting against and the resources that we're fighting against just sort of depends on what the subject is.
Mm-hmm.
It may be in our best interest and it may not be in our best interest.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at finances being behind by 3 years,
Maybe more by now.
well, what you could be looking at is obscuring a truth until a period of time at which people would say, well,
That
that's
gone.
so
That
far
water under the
behind.
bridge. That's water
Yeah.
under the bridge.
And they're just hoping that you'll just
Get it right
leave it
now.
alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what we need to do is we need to insist that it be done better. The system of accounting that we use that we took from Zealand,
Mm-hmm. New Zealand.
New Zealand doesn't use that anymore.
But yet we're still using it.
Yes, we're still using it because it was
It
too
wasn't working.
bureaucratic, as yes, not efficient,
Nope.
and that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have sufficient amount of detail for transactions, but we need those transactions to occur in a way in which not only are they efficient,
Mm-hmm.
but that you have an audit trail that could catch who may have amended something, and you need to have certain level of menu security in order to access editing functions so that you minimize abuses
Mm-hmm.
and corruption. We have to get that correct.
If it's wanted.
Well, well,
Just devil's
I
advocate.
yeah, I think most people want it because there is what causes the uncertainty of who gets in and who doesn't get in as an MP is the swing vote. But that element that's the swing vote is not the majority of the country.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the majority of the country would want it to be done properly, but they're kind of at the mercy of the person who take $1,000 and a load of marl and all that other stuff that tilts the balance as to who actually gets in the house,
Oh yeah.
right? So we have lots of work to do, but if we don't, we listen, in the Cayman Islands, we have an awesome opportunity to build a country.
Correct.
It could be amazing,
Correct.
but we're squandering it.
Yep. We're hemorrhaging, not squandering.
Yeah.
We're right now hemorrhaging.
We as a people, we need to get our act together, become politically mature.
Yeah.
Now, when I use the word political, some people might be thinking, well, I don't get involved in politics. But what politics really is the subject of the interest of people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not interested in things that affect your life, I don't know what to say to you.
I want you to
Right? 'Cause-
repeat that because who gets involved in politics should be what? Or who? What type of
People-
individuals?
Well, people who have an interest in things that affect their lives. Now,
What happens when you're beholding then to a party or a party leader or for some big people who are funding a party or have hidden agendas?
well, I used to be a part of the PPM when they first started. They were doing things right for a while, and then they went off the rails. And I left. So what you need to do is you need to vote with your actions. You need to demand that the right things be done, or you disassociate yourself.
Okay.
That's what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And now some people don't want to ruffle feathers in that way.
But where has
But
it gotten us?
That's right. It's not going to get us where we need to be if you accept somebody doing the wrong thing, if you accept manipulation, if you accept corruption, if you accept bribery. There are some people who hold a view that they're just going to not be bothered with it. They don't watch the news. They're not going to participate. They're just going to take care of their family. As long as it doesn't affect them, they don't have nothing to say.
Mm-hmm. Hold on
Well-
a second. This to me merge just called Danny. Call has been Danny?
Uh-huh.
Go ahead. The person hang up. Go ahead.
Okay, but the truth of the matter is this, is that just because you don't take interest in politics doesn't mean politics won't take interest in you.
It's true. 1 second. I'm going to try to do this again. Go ahead. It's on call conference. Can you wind up and then I can take that other call who's on hold?
Yeah. So I just want to encourage people to try to be informed as possible.
I'm trying my best to be honest, Danny. I'm trying my best here. And I thank you for repeating that, but it's true. There's a reason.
Yeah. And have the courage to defend yourself, because it is impacting your interests and the interests of your children.
Correct.
And in the future, when your children look at the Cayman Islands that we live in, are they going to say that my parents fought as hard as they could for me to have the best future life possible, an environment to live in?
Or they capitulate, or they just fell for everything.
Did
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
And just allowed the corruption to destroy the country.
Yeah.
Anyhow, take care.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for your contribution. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind? Oh, hold on. Don't speak. I got to give him another kaboom, which is about a total of 3, but I'll just do 1 for good measure and to honor Cayman's kind request. There you go, caller. What's on your mind? Welcome to Sabrina Speaks. Hello.
Is he finished? Is he finished?
Yes, he is. He is. It's your time.
Okay. All right. Good evening, Sabrina. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you again for an awesome show. I want to say thank you for trying to encourage, enlighten, educate, and impart knowledge. So important for all of those kids are in universities, all of our parents that are behind, everybody that is in this country. Everybody that went out there and voted and wasted or put their time out, shouldn't say wasted, but put their time out to go to political meetings to hear what was coming on board. This show, what Mr. Warren has said, what I have said before, and I'm so much that I can tell and impart as well. these are the things that our people need to understand. He hinted on it. It's called digital ID, and there's a lot more that many of us will be able to talk about it later on for a different show. But I want to tell my Caymanian people, all of you that are being silent and showed up at the polls but are not paying attention and demanding that corruption be nipped, that investigations be done, that we're going to hold the employees, we are the employers, the employees, members of parliament, members of the legislative assembly, or politicians accountable. We are going to end up. We are not going to be the billionaires. We're going to be the ones at the bottom of the table looking for the crumbs. And what Sabrina, what many of us are trying to do is to let you know, as Sabrina is a passive servant, so am I. We're trying to let you know, Cayman, that things are happening. And just like you took the time to go out and vote, the time to go to all of these public meetings, each district should not just be listening to their elected officials. You should be getting together and listening and demanding answers for everything that we are discussing here today. Because I'm telling you, it's coming back for your children. It's coming back for your great-grandchildren. It's coming back. Let me tell you something. One natural disaster, and it takes it all out. Okay? So I'm just saying to our people, we better wake up. We better understand. We better start listening. We better start acting. And how do we act? Like I said it so many times on your show and on the morning show with Sandy. Combined, united, we stand.
Divided, we will fall.
And if we do not get back to that place where we are going to stand with one another and understand what the implications and all the things that are coming down from the United Kingdom to us, and all of the puppets that we have that are going to put it in place, I'm so sorry for all of us that are going to go through such a hard time when we know that we are the employers and we should be holding these people accountable. So let me tell you something, it's not good. And I'm hoping that we will start seeing, not district council, I want to see groups of young people asking the questions, sending you questions and saying, look, I found this out today. The bad thing is, when a lot of us ask for FOIs, we're blocked. We're blocked. We can't get the information. So therefore, I'm saying to you, now that you also have an outlet, you and Sandra and others, let us stand together and ask everyone and hold them accountable. We are going to be in trouble. We're on fire. We don't know it. And when I say on fire, it's because the things I know I cannot bring out. I cannot say because I know I would be labeled and get in trouble for a lot of the things. But the bottom line is we've got to stand together and start asking the questions and hold people accountable. Thank you so much. I'm not going to stay on it so long.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thanks. Thank you for that call. And I think Mankind also as well said, sweet talk. And caller, you were asked for Kaboom as well. Damian Henry says, take these warnings serious before it's too late. Kaboom, caller, which I think that one will be for 2. Now, going back to the flow of things, and I may go over by 10 minutes tonight just because I want to wrap this up. And it is so important that I continue to make sure that I finish this episode so that it will actually create the foundation for other conversations and other episodes that are forthcoming. And it goes back into the position of speaker. And why should Caymanians expect, or what Caymanians should expect of a speaker? It is just a fundamental thing when it comes to partisan and non-partisan, because Caymanians should expect that a speaker who enforces what is expected of them, rules impartially, that a speaker protects minority voices, as I said earlier, that a speaker also refuses to be bought. That a speaker refuses to be politically pressured. They should also expect a speaker who upholds the dignity of Parliament, not an agenda for any party. And I'm repeating some of this for emphasis. Because when the speaker is partisan, Parliament becomes a battleground and not a forum for democracy. So then the question begs to ask, why Caymanians should care? Let me tell you why. Caymanians should care that the speaker is of all of those things, because if the speaker is for whatever reason compromised, and I said it before, debates can be manipulated. Laws can again be passed without proper scrutiny. Corruption can be shielded, and the Constitution again be ignored. And when that happens, for emphasis, the people lose their voice. You've heard the cry from our two callers. You've heard it. So when you look at historical context and public's reaction, and you look at what everybody is saying, let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about us, the people. I swear it's coded in our DNA that historically, Caymanians have been a forgiven set of people. We've trusted our leaders. We've also hoped for the best. But hope is not a strategy. And silence is not strength. Every Caymanian should be thinking, are we too quiet when things go wrong? It goes straight into what the callers were saying. Should us Caymanians be thinking, do we hold our leaders to the same standards we hold ourselves? Should we as Caymanians be thinking, are we protecting our Constitution, or are we just outright ignoring it? Because going back to Section 19, as I said, isn't just legal lingo, legal jargon. It is a safeguard, it's a shield. And before then, a call, and that's why I had to repeat this. It is a promise. And if we don't defend it, who will? Darlene, kind of difficult to be done if you are a part of the problem. You're quite right, Darlene. That speaker money is good. Cannot mess that up. Not today, Bobo. Darlene, you're something else. A speaker should not be bought, like you said. But So, what can we, the people of the Cayman Islands, do? This question came up yesterday. To prove that I go back and I watch my podcast and I try to actually answer the action items from what you say. I can't say I can do it for everyone now, though. This is why I try to cover it. What can the people of the Cayman Islands do then if we're not satisfied that, let's say, the civil servants, the question came up, what if we're not satisfied that civil servants, chief officers, directors, deputy governor are not being held accountable and doing their jobs, and even at pace? Because this actual report confirms what you, the people, have been saying for decades. Now, going back to the crux of this episode, that 2024 Auditor General's report didn't just expose failures, you know. What that report has done, it actually validated what many of you Caymanians, many of us have been saying for years. One person commented that there was a previous Auditor General's report where similar findings, here it is, Priscilla. Pretty much every Auditor General report states the same findings over the years, and nothing is ever done. Priscilla, I hope to Christ now after today's episode that you all are educated, that it will be done, because like I said yesterday, we are awake. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Sabrina Speaks. You're live.
Good evening, honey child. How are you?
I am fair to fine.
Oh my gosh, I love the topic. It is so interesting, so good to know. It's extremely knowledgeable. I am so happy for this topic. And as you saw, my question states, I need some guidance on how do I go about acting out our constitution when we have civil servants refusing to uphold the law, to do the jobs that they're hired to do according to the law.
I'm getting there.
It's my understanding. Let me give you a reference. It's my understanding that we had a fire here in Windsor Park, the back of Windsor Park.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I'm understanding fire truck hit some cars parked on the side of the road to get into where the fire was.
Mm-hmm.
You know how many years I've been asking the police to act out our traffic laws. No vehicle should be parked on the road. And this is a perfect example of why we should not have vehicles parking on the streets, because when emergency needs to get in, they're going to do anything it takes to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And they should, that is including putting our firefighters' lives in danger.
Of course.
Putting our ambulance drivers' lives in danger. And it should not happen.
And it slows down their response time.
Exactly. And they cannot beat that into the police head. I mean, they just tends to ignore, oh, it's only Romelia Welcome has a problem with people parking on the street, nobody else. Is it only Romelia Welcome has the sense to see and to understand the safety in it? All on the corners of our streets up to today, and I had to put it on Facebook. 2 vehicles parked on the corner of July Street. I even went as far as to put the RMS number there.
I think that was on Sandra's show. Yeah, I think I saw it on Sandra's show.
The police
on
don't care.
page.
They do not care. And it's not only the police, you got planning. Planning is another entity that doesn't wish to carry out the laws. You got DCI, who does the same thing, immigration, and DEH.
Mm-hmm.
They refuse to work according to the law. Yes, the little laws we have, but then at the end of the day, use the little law we have.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't be in this mess that we're in right now. You want to see something? Sabrina, you take a stroll down in Windsor Park tonight, and come on July Street and come on back of Oakmill and Templeton.
Mm-hmm.
Take a stroll down Bruns Road and Webb Road, and you can't get in Washington Boulevard. You got down Watlers Road. Oh my God, you got to go to. I mean to tell you, it could be like the police don't care. They don't care to do their job, what the people of these islands is paying them for. And then what gets under my skin to see they up in Parliament seeking more funding. Funding for what? For more incompetent police officers? No, don't get me wrong. We have a few good police officers who I take my hat off to. But a lot of them needs to find Cayman ways. A lot of them need to hitch a ride on Cayman ways and go back where they're coming from, because then what they've done is bring their nasty dirty ways from where they come from and bring it here in the Cayman Islands and utilizing it here in the Cayman Islands. And you can't get the time of the day to speak to the commissioner, we spoke to him, but it went in through one ear and come out through the next. Right now, I sent in an email for a police community meeting regarding safety. Up to this, blessed about 2-3 weeks now, up to this blessed day, I haven't gotten a response because they don't care. But I would like to know how to utilize that with pursuing, taking them to court or holding them accountable. That I would really like to know how to go about that.
Stay tuned.
Thank you, darling.
All right, my love. You see, these conversations are so deep that if I jump ahead and skip chapters, it's going to lose you. But these topics will actually come to the forefront and it will again make sense. But as it pertains to what I was saying, this Auditor General Report validated, it validates what many Caymanians have been saying, as we rightfully say, right? So let me just do as best as I can in the time remaining. And I'm going to ask you to stick with me, please, because I like the feedback that I'm getting and might as well me just wrap this whole episode up instead of having to come back. I will try my best to do pretty much a breakdown of what we should do. And it goes right into what that caller was asking, what Caymanians can do, both constitutionally and practically. All right. And I'm going to do a little breakdown. So you're going to have to pay attention. The 2024 Auditor General Report didn't expose, as I said, the fractures. It validated exactly what we were saying. And that accountability in government is slow, uneven, and often absent. So when you ask, what can we, the people, do when those in power, even the chief officers to the governor, the DG, as you may feel, is not doing their jobs with urgency or integrity? Here's one of the things, a number of steps you can do. By invoking your constitutional right, especially the same Section 19 that I broke down. The Section 19 of the Cayman Islands Constitution guarantees that every public authority must act, and I'm repeating it again, rationally, proportionately, and fairly. And if they don't, you have the right to challenge them. So what do you do is your question. You file a formal complaint with the relevant ministry or the office of the ombudsman. You demand a written explanations for decisions that appear irrational or unfair. What else do? You have the right to seek judicial review in the courts if a public authority violates your rights under Section 19. Remember the power of the Constitution. This Section 19 isn't really symbolic, It's enforceable. And you, Caymanians, must start using it. So you asked. File a formal complaint. Demand written explanations for decisions that appear irrational and unfair, and seek judicial review in the courts if a public authority violates your rights under Section 19. And why? Because that section is enforceable. And many of us are not using it because you're fearful of the system. Okay? Number 2, you can demand transparency and public accountability, As a people, you have the power to demand answers. All of us has. Because when the civil servants and the leaders fail to act, the public must step in. What does she mean by that? And what do you mean? You have the right to attend public meetings and town halls, but if they have them, no? You have the right to ask questions. And like some of you ask questions in these public meetings and you become a nuisance, or the body language says, oh, her again. Oh God, him again. You up for that job, you take it. That's your right. If you see those and you see those body languages, you're not being respected. If you're shrugged like you're a nuisance, you're not being respected. You have the right to access public records under the Freedom of Information law. You also have the power of social media to amplify concerns and organize public dialogue, but it doesn't only take 1 or 4 or 5. And if they're going to try to silence you by putting you on boards Putting you on councils? Red flag. You have the right to write letters, to compose letters to the editor, to publish op-eds, or even start community podcasts. There we are. Because silence enables dysfunction. If you remain silent, it will equal dysfunction. But visibility forces change. Number 3, pressure elected officials to act. I heard you all using the term, we are the employers, they are the employees. I'm only repeating what you said. While civil servants are not elected, ministers are. And they are responsible for overseeing their ministries and holding chief officers accountable. That's what you think. That's where the lines get blurred sometimes because of this infamous Section 55, and that could be another show. So that in itself is delicate. Because then you wonder, well, who running the country? Is it my MP or is it chief officers, civil service? My dear, you can actually contact your MP and demand they raise concerns in Parliament, Public Accounts Committee, going back. Ask for performance reviews of ministries and civil servants. You have a right to ask. Remember, it's blurred lines of accountability. But if you go through your Parliament, if you go through the Office of the Ombudsman, push for legislative reforms that tie public funding to performance metrics. Because if your MP is silent, you better ask why. And if they're complicit, meaning they go along with the wave and the ride because you settle for a load of marl, because you settle for maybe 4,000 because you got X amount of votes in the bag, that's what you get. People have to vote accordingly. So you ask, Sabrina, you a mad woman. How you gonna hold the deputy governor and the governor accountable for their constitutional duties? You can. The deputy governor oversees the civil service, and I know that. And the governor is responsible for good governance and upholding the Constitution. So if you feel that they're not doing their job, then what do? You can write formal letters to both offices demanding action on the Auditor General's findings. You can also request public statements or press conferences addressing the failures. You can also call for independent oversight panels to review civil service performance. And if those two persons fail to respond, it raises serious constitutional questions. And the people have every right to escalate from there. So, Sabrina, what do you mean? It don't stop there? It doesn't. There are civic movements as well for reform. Because change doesn't come from one voice. It doesn't only come from 2 podcasts, CMR and Sabrina Speaks. It doesn't just come from the Cold Hard Truth, Sandra and Sabrina. Lisa, Danny, scary. Siobhan, it comes from many. You can form or join civic groups focused on transparency, procurement reform, and even governance. You can organize peaceful public forums. You can also launch petitions demanding specific reforms, like mandatory audits, procurement oversight, or civil service restructuring. You got the power in your hands, guys. And you definitely have the intelligence. You hear it in the sound of your voices. You definitely, Caymanians, have the passion. And you have the constitutional power to lead change. It doesn't come, none of these things come with how much you got in the bank, what political alliance you have, or what surname you have, or where you live, what you wear, what you drive. Constitution in your power does not discriminate. So why this movement matters, you may ask? Thank you, Caymankind. It takes all. This report confirms decades of public frustration. It's not just inefficiencies. It's about betrayal of public trust. And when the public trust erodes, guess what suffers? Democracy suffers. So every Caymanian should be asking, are we being governed or mismanaged? Are our leaders serving us? Because on a sell on a vote for Mar, for a couple thousand, and some money for as cheap as a 6-pack of beer. Or are they doing it for themselves? And are we willing to accept this? Or will we demand better? Because the Constitution isn't just a document. It is a contract. And when leaders break it, you, the people, must enforce it. Don't be scared. There is power in numbers. And I can use this line again. Thank God, God is not like man. And if you know you are guilty for selling your vote, repent. Repent. Because if you took anything from any of them, God is a forgiving God. But tonight is the truth. You can't say I'm setting you all straight. I could have been one of those just go in the corner and pout. I chose. Thank God for CMR TV. Thank God for Sandra. Educating enough. And for the record, if you want to advertise with Bridge Media, call me. Because we just getting started. Another question. If the governor and deputy governor fails then to respond, it raises serious constitutional questions. And the people have every right to escalate. So who and where would it be escalated to? Remember, the Cayman Islands is not an independent jurisdiction. I hope I remember that. But that don't mean you can't escalate it. Yes, we are a British overseas territorial jurisdiction, which means we are not an independent country like Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, da-da-da-da-da. But ultimately, we fall under sovereignty of the United Kingdom. And you heard that word used here earlier on as well. Now, that has profound implications for how constitutional concerns, especially the failures of governance, can be escalated. They might be said, oh my God, she even taking on the governor. I just sharing information. I ain't taking on a soul. We already identify it can't take one person to do this. But if you're educated, when you open your mouth and go on certain platforms and you talk, you will know and you'll be able to identify hogwash. So, here's a little breakdown of how Caymanians can escalate it to and who or how. Darling, Sabrina, try bring the red flag with you tomorrow. Oh, cheap. Damien. The drunkards and the druggies were dressed to the 99 on voting day with a piece of paper in their hands with the name of who they were voting for written on it. On saying it, I know what I saw. Now we're in the campaign. Hey, boy, anything got done? Nope. But I thank him. Look where I am today. Let me break it down. Going back to what you can do. The UK government, via the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, you heard this acronym, FCDO. You think only certain people can use these acronyms? And I better know what they are, because you can eat them. The governor represent the British Crown. Want to hear what I say? The governor represents the British Crown and is appointed by the UK government. Now, if the governor and deputy governor fail to uphold their constitutional duties, especially regarding good governance, accountability, and Section 19, the people of Cayman Islands can escalate concerns to the FCDO in London. I'm only giving you the pathway. I'm only telling you what to do. I can't predict things. You asked where. I'm giving you the answer. And how do you do this? You write formal letters or petitions addressed to the Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth, and Development Affairs. In that letter, you request an independent inquiry into governance failures. And in that said letter, you highlight the breaches of the Cayman Islands Constitution. So if you notice, you're linking everything to justify that you're not just wasting their time. And then you have to prove. You highlight the breaches of the Cayman Islands Constitution, especially where public authorities are not acting lawfully or fairly. And you may think this is, oh my God, this would be the first time. This isn't unprecedented. The UK has intervened in other overseas territories in the past when governance standards collapsed. One example comes to mind is the Turks and Caicos back in 2009. Do we ever want to get there? No. You asked, and I'm answering, and I'm giving you the examples. You can also do a legal challenge via the judicial review. So if a public authority, including the governor or deputy governor, is perceived to be acting unlawfully, irrationally, unfairly, Caymanians can initiate a judicial review in the local courts as well, because the judicial arm is separate. And you can challenge the legality of a decision or failure to act, and the court can rule that the authority breached in the Constitution, especially Section 19 that we're focusing on this evening. Yeah. So this creates a legal pressure and public accountability. But if the local judiciary fails to act, you can go further as well. That's the UK courts of international human rights bodies may also be considered. So when these formal channels stall, it's not the end of the road. When public pressure becomes powerful, yeah, you can launch public campaigns demanding the UK's oversight. You can engage with international media watchdogs as well and NGOs focus on governance and human rights, and use platforms like, I think there was one that keeps coming up in my research, Change.org to gather global support for constitutional enforcement. That's a mouthful, but it's change.org, CHANGE.org. And that will help you to gather global support for constitutional enforcement. Because if you think it's only isolated here, you're not. And the UK government is sensitive to reputational risk, especially when its territories, like the Cayman Islands, are accused of corruption, mismanagement, or constitutional violations. So the question now goes down to why this matters. It matters because you're asking. Because the Cayman Islands Constitution is just not, again, a local document. It's a UK-sanctioned legal framework. And if the governor and the deputy governor fail to uphold it, they're not just failing Caymanians, they're failing the crown. And when that happens, the people have every right to escalate to the UK government, to demand intervention, and to insist on reforms that restores accountability. So we've gotten all of that. Let's talk a few solutions before I go. We can talk about mandatory procurement audits, public dashboards for spending, performance-based reviews for ministries or ministers. Yeah. You can ask that. You can also ask for civil service reform and governor's oversight panel. Remember, I kind of hinted at something like that yesterday? So Sabrina, they're just hair shooting from the hips. I bring it full circle to you. This is why some topics take longer to come to fruition, because I gotta make sure I'm comfortable. But some of the solutions, like I said, mandatory procurement audits, every contract should be reviewed. By who? I think Siobhan said, when you let the fox into the hen house, whoops, digress. Public dashboards for spending. Let the people see where the money goes. But if the trust is being eroded, then we're only depending on this position of the Auditor General. I bet you're seeing that position totally different now, though. I bet you're seeing the speaker position totally different tonight, though. Oof. Some of the other solutions as well, it's not even funny. I just don't want to cry. Some of the other solutions are performance-based reviews for ministers and ministries and civil servants. But it's a little different to do a performance appraisal on the ministers, because you do that with your vote every 4 years. So let's deal with it then from the operational arm. Reward excellence. And for God's sake, remove incompetence. And that's what you guys do every 4 years with your vote. Because I can't blame on if the how and the feel. There could be civil servants reforms as well. Hire for merit. Promote for results. Not on friendships, not on who can carry the most news, not on who can cover up stuff and put it under the rugs. Hire for merit. Promote for results, not incompetence. And governor's oversight panel? Well, that would only work if it's independent. A governor's oversight panel will only work if it's transparent and accountable. A governor's oversight panel? Yeah, it has to be independent. And what you should be thinking about right now with all of this information, what kind of country do we want? I know it's less than 6 months. Oh, it's just about 6 months since the last election. Hold on for my caller. But whatever Caymanian should be thinking about after this episode, what trajectory are we headed in if you know you made a mistake because you sold your vote? What kind of leaders do we really deserve? And what kind of constitution are we willing to defend? Because good governance isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. And guess what? It starts with every one of us. Good evening, caller. Welcome back. I'm about to close.
Yes, Sabrina, I thank you so much. I just wanted to say this quickly to my people. If you are paying attention to the House of Lords, members of Parliament in London, you will see that they have a plethora of problems of their own. And they're facing exactly some of the same things we are facing here in Cayman: corruption. And so much other things I could go into, but I want you all, my Caymanian people, to Google it yourselves. Watch what's going on in London. And even though we're a part of them and we have to go to them, I want you all to realize that you all have to step up to the plate and do is exactly what Sabrina, myself, Denny, and many others are saying. We have to get together and ask the questions. When our seamen left and went abroad on the high seas, they had one single thing on their mind. I'm going to make money to feed my wife, my children, and I will do anything to make sure that they will be okay. Then we also had some of those seamen that were brave enough, strong enough to join World War I and II, which we now know was just another way of raping a country. That's what wars are all about: destroying somebody's property and taking it and stealing it for yourself. That's all it's about, really. And hurting people and destroying people, destroying history, destroying, their country. This is what we need to understand. We need to get back to that, where we are standing with one another, arm to arm, asking the questions, demanding accountability, prosecuting the wrong. If not, I give you this scenario. In next 4 years, or even let's say 6 or 7 years, with the quantity of permanent residents that came and status holders that are really not for our people, and they're from all around the world, who will have that privilege to come and start in our parliament. I tell those Caymanians that are sitting there now, many of them will not be there. And it would be a lot of these foreign people coming from countries which will bring in Sharia law. Okay, that means you can marry 8, 9 years old, and it's not a problem. Can you imagine that's what we want for our people? What our parents and all of our seamen has went to war and sea to fight for our country, to give us liberty and democratic process? No, we don't want it. Okay? Do you understand that we could become a country that would be the envy of the world if we just stand together?
Mm-hmm.
So you all, Cayman, better wake up. Cayman better wake up. All them civil servants that are there, the few Caymanians, true Caymanians that are there, they're just keeping their mouth shut. Now I want to go pay my mortgage. You are the same ones that may end up on NAU, and you're not listening. You're not listening. You all need to get together in groups and write and demand, like I did from my boss in 2000, accountability. Accountability. And stand up for your people. Stand up. Let's say it again. Stand up together. We will fight and we will survive it. But if we continue with this dividing, the jealousy, and only our favoritism, and only this one we want help and that one we want to help, divided we fall. Thank you, Sabrina. Have a great evening.
Thank you. And with that, Cayman, I close. I close with this message that you do deserve better. And I want to publicly applaud that Auditor General for being so blunt, so candid, so honest. Thank you for doing your job. Continue to do your job. This is a new dawn for the Cayman Islands. And we are watching. We are not a playground for the powerful. We are proud people. And we must hold our leaders to account. The same Section 19 of our Constitution is clear. Public authorities must act lawfully, rationally, proportionately, and fairly. And I'm hoping that after today's episodes that we could label Denny as Section 19. Bet you're not going to know what that says to after today. And if they don't, they as in our public authorities, if they don't, they're not just failing us. They're violating our rights. Yeah, that's what they're doing. So speak up. This isn't just about numbers, it's about trust. And trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. But we can rebuild it. But it takes unity. It takes togetherness. I'm Sabrina. It was a pleasure bringing you another Sabrina Speaks. Until tomorrow evening. Do have a lovely evening. Love you lots.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.